Alright, in this module we're going to talk about for sale by owner. And anybody that's selling a house goes through that thought, should I just go ahead and just sell the thing myself? Um, One of the things that I'm going to let you know, many people do it. It's not easy. Oftentimes when you're seeing an agent sell a house, it just all appears so easy, but you don't see the people behind them. You don't see the paperwork and the transaction that's involved. You see an agent that's taking some pictures and putting it online, and you feel like all of a sudden everything happens magically. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. I've had clients that have had an agent come out standing in the street taking pictures of the house and literally had a buyer stop, say, "Is this house for sale?" "Yeah, I'm taking pictures, it's going on the market, I want it. I've been waiting for this house to come on the market." Sometimes it happens magically. Most of the time, that's not a reality. But if you're willing to put in the time and the effort, you can save yourself a considerable amount of money, which is what it's all about, right? If an agent was going to list your house for free, you would never consider doing it yourself. So in that, knowing that that's your interest ultimately is to save money and get this house sold yourself, you want to also keep in mind that when you want to save money, you certainly don't want to lose money. So remember what we talked about in pricing your home. If you're not pricing your home right, then you can lose money, right? You can lose money by pricing it too high. It gets shelf worn, sits there, nobody wants to buy it. You reduce it. And if it was worth $250 and now you find yourself selling it for $245, you just lost $5,000. That doesn't feel good. If you're not pricing it right with true market value, and you're pricing it under true market value, not purposely, you're pricing it at $240 because you believe that's what it's worth, then somebody comes along and maybe even multiple offers come along and they're $240, $245, and you make a selection on that without even countering offering at $250 because you're thinking, well, it's only worth $240. Again, you've cost yourself money. So you want to make sure that when you're pricing your house, you know what you're doing and you're pricing it right. It's a very important thing. What many people don't know, when you go to sell your house, if it's something you're going to tackle yourself, there's a lot of opportunity out there to get the house listed in the agent's MLS. That's definitely something you want to do. They'll charge you about $500, and a broker will take it and they'll put it in the local MLS, and they'll put it in there and they'll advertise that they're not representing the seller, that this was an MLS entry only, and that they'll instruct that any agent that's going to bring a buyer is to deal with the seller directly. So that leads us to the next thing. So you want to get in the MLS, the local MLS, because that's where all the agents look. And 90% of the houses are sold with a buyer that's represented by an agent. You want to make sure that you offer a 2.5% to 3% commission to any agent that brings a buyer, and that buyer successfully closes on the purchase of the house. Obviously, by offering 2.5% to 3%, you're offering what they're used to getting from another broker. So if you'd hired a listing agent to sell your house and Susie brings a buyer, that listing agent may have 6% charged to you, and that listing agent's going to keep 3%, and they're going to give 3% to this other agent that brought the buyer. So you're just removing the 3% on the listing side, but you're still offering the 2.5%, 3% to an agent that brings a buyer. Because the percentages are so high that a buyer is going to be represented by an agent, you want to make sure you don't exclude them. You're still saving the 3% by not having a listing agent. If you're going to sell the house yourself, encourage agents to bring their buyers to your house. Here's what happens if you don't. Susie says, "Hey, this house down here on 123 Park Lane came up for sale, and I'd like to go see it. I know it's for sale because I saw it on Zillow," and their agent's going to see, well, there's nothing in it for me. So the agent's going to convince Susie that the house is no longer available, or the house isn't anything close to what they want, or it's not worth what it's being listed for. They're going to make an excuse not to show Susie your house because there's nothing in it for them, and they're trying to make money, right? It's like everybody else. So offer 2.5%, 3%, to an agent that will bring a buyer that successfully closes on the purchase of your house. Moving on that more. When you have an open house, so many sellers want their house marketed in every way, and open houses just haven't gone away from that seller mindset. 1% of the houses will sell at an open house. 1%. So in putting your house out there and having an open house, for a 1% chance of finding the buyer, there's a 99% chance that you won't. You're going to spend 4 hours sitting in an open house, multiple weekends, hoping to get that one buyer in there. When you do have people come into your house, you're subjecting yourself to possible theft. I always tell sellers, you want to pack up your valuables and go put them in a safe deposit box at the bank, just in case. You always hear these horror stories. Couples will show up, thieves, they'll show up, and the wife or girlfriend or whatever will start talking to the person that's at the house, even if it's an agent, and the other one will kind of wander off, and they're heading to the master bedroom, and they're going back there and they're stealing jewelry. They're stealing valuables, and the agent doesn't know any different. If you're there as a homeowner and you're selling the house, you don't know any different. So in having an open house, it's always best if even an agent has more than one person there. First thing is control it. You want to keep people together, right? So you can watch that, and you do it under the guise that, hey, I'm going to kind of take you through the house. I don't want you wandering off down to the bedroom. Stay here so I can walk you through there. We'll get to that. I know you're excited to see the master bedroom and see how beautiful it is, but we'll get there. So agents should do that same thing, but when you have multiple people, even if you're selling it yourself, spouse, friends, family, come over to the open house and have 2-3 of you and be able to watch people and guide them through. But again, there's a 99% chance you won't find the buyer for your house. So I always question, why have the open house? You've got 20 to 40 pictures online, right? In the other module we suggested doing that. If you've got all those pictures, they've seen the house. If they feel like it's the house for them, they're going to make arrangements to come see the house in person, right? You don't need to have an open house and just open that front door for anybody and everybody to come in and meander through your house. I do caution against that. If it's something you absolutely want to do because you feel like that's a great way to market the house, you don't have to do it yourself. You can get buyer's agents and say, and you can go through the internet and find them and say, hey, if you're interested in holding an open house and maybe finding a possible buyer for my house, I'd love to have you come sit and have an open house this Saturday. And are you willing to do that? And many of the agents, especially the new ones, they need something to do. They need to get out. They need to talk to people. And the agents know that there's only a 1% chance that they're going to find a buyer for your house. But if you're in the right area and you're getting enough foot traffic in there, the agent also knows everybody that's coming in there has a potential to be wanting to buy a house. So while that agent won't sell them your house, they'll certainly try because you're going to give them 2-3%, right? But they know if this isn't the right house for them, maybe they can sell them another one. So by the agent sitting in and having an open house in your house, that agent's also putting themselves in a position where maybe they'll gain some leads from other buyers that this house wasn't right for, but maybe the one across town is. So agents are willing to do that so long as you're willing to give the 2.5-3% should they bring you a buyer. Let's see, Zillow. You've got to list it on Zillow. If you do the MLS listing for $500, it should automatically import to Zillow, so you don't have to do it. If you don't want to spend that money and do the MLS entry only, definitely put it on Zillow. There are so many people looking at Zillow that Zillow's just an animal. And so you want to make sure that you're on Zillow and listing that house and getting that advertisement there. Okay, lastly, if you're selling the house yourself, you're going to have a lot of agents contacting you because they want to list your house, right? Even if you put on the listing or You've got it all over the internet, right? One of the places is Craigslist, and in Craigslist you say, don't solicit me. I don't need anybody to sell a house. You're still going to get agents calling you. Hey, I noticed the house has been for sale for 2 weeks and it's still available. You're having a hard time selling it. Why don't you let me sell it for you? If you've done everything right, which would be a mirror of what an agent's doing, if you've done the MLS entry for $500, if you've offered a commission of 2.5–3% to a seller's buyer's agent to bring a buyer in there. If you've done all these things, you put in a lot of the effort that a listing agent's going to put in anyway. Hats off to you. You've put the time and energy into doing it. Now you're realizing, wow, this isn't easy, but I'm still not ready to have a listing agent list my house. And when you got them on the phone, or if they're at your front door, be sure to tell them, hey, you know what? You want to list my house because maybe you're telling me you have a buyer that'd be interested in. You got to tell them that's great. Did you know that I'm offering 2.5% or I'm offering 3%? If you have a buyer for my house, bring them. I'm not telling you can't bring a buyer here. If you have a buyer for my house, bring them. And if they buy my house, I'm more than happy to give you that money. So don't just reject those agents, because agents know other agents and agents know buyers. I mean, they're in this business, right? They're constantly around this stuff. And one agent might have 40 agents as Facebook friends and stuff. So they're constantly communicating amongst each other, and in that, they're circulating through buyers. So by just rejecting them, you've lost an opportunity to get their buyer should they find one. So you could reject the fact that, well, I appreciate what you're offering me, and if I get to a situation where I feel like I need a listing agent, I'll be sure to give you a call. I got your contact number. I've got your information. I really appreciate that. But hey, let me let you know, I'm offering 2.5% or I'm offering 3% if you bring me a buyer. So in the meantime, should you find a buyer, feel free to give me a call and we'll set it up to where you can get them over here and show them the house. So there you go. That's the advice I have on the for sale by owner. It can be done. It is done by many people. It's not always easy. They have plenty of sites, that you can go in and blast your information on. For sale by owner, I've noticed that it's really dwindled down, and again, I think that's just because Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, they're the ones that people are going to. But a lot of these sites are free to stick your house on there. The reason it's free is because they want as much activity there as they can, because they're getting buyer leads. They're generating leads that they're selling to real estate agents from these sites. So that's the topic of a whole new module. But you can do it yourself. People do, but they have to have the time and they have to have the thick skin to be able to go through and do it. Real estate agents really do earn their money when it comes to listing and selling a house. So if you've got a job that you work 40–50 hours a week and you don't have a lot of time available to be there and do it, I would suggest that you just look at it and go, well, I'll spend the extra couple of percent, 2–3%, and just go ahead and hire an agent, have them list it and take care of it. But if it's something you want to do, these steps that I've given to you, they're little nuggets there. It'll definitely help you get it done. Okay, we'll see you in the next module.